My name is Philip Hopkins. I was in Tuscany and I joined the school in September 39 and I left after the summer term 1941. Well, my favourite subject was history and geography, particularly geography, and it's the one thing I've been fairly good at, which stood me in good stead during the Second World War, because I had some rough idea how far we were going and all that kind of thing, you see. The other subjects I wasn't very good at, maths and things. I've mastered them a bit now, but it wasn't my forte, really. My memory's a bit hazy about the majority of the teachers, but two do stick in my mind. One was Mrs. Alexander, known as Ma Alec, very friendly, and she used to come to the old boys' dinners in Southend for many years after the war. I was sorry to know that she became a widow in the First World War, so that's a pretty sad sort of background, but she was a very good character, I found, and she taught German. We had a choice of taking Latin or German. Well, I had a basin full of Latin at Framlingham, and I thought, no thank you, I'll have German. My memories of Dr. Moore, the first time I met him, was in early September 39, just after the war had started. Before that I was at Framlingham in Suffolk, but my parents thought it would be as well if we were all together, because my brother and sister were also away at school. And so the headmaster interviewed me and decided he would accept me for the school. And that was in 1939. We've all heard of the phony war. It did seem like that to most people. Nothing much happened during the first 9 months of the war or whatever it was. I mean, the collapse of France was a calamity, but being boys at school, it didn't seem to affect us very much. We were more concerned with what was on the pictures and going ice skating on South Church Park and that sort of thing. But we were told that we had to evacuate when France collapsed. And rumours went round we were going to Mansfield, although it was unofficial. They wouldn't admit that's where we were going. Because having been away at boarding school, it didn't fill me with any dread at all. I found that some of the lads that hadn't been away before found that rather difficult and homesick and so on. It didn't affect me. It didn't affect me later when I joined the RAF. Again, people that hadn't been away from home, and some of those chaps were a bit miserable at the beginning, but I wasn't affected by that because I was used to being away. I can remember the actual day quite clearly. It was a lovely summer's day. We were enjoying a heat wave. We were told we had to be at the school, I don't know the exact time, but it was very early. Let's say it was 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm not sure. It was something like that. And I walked to school and we were taken in coaches, I believe, to Southend Central Station where we boarded the train. It was a special train which took us all the way to Mansfield. As the journey progressed, we saw such strange sights as coal mines, you know, the wheel going round. It was all new to us. None of us had been anywhere near collieries or anything like that. Knew little or nothing about it. But it gave us an impression that this was going to be very different, and it was very different in Mansfield. When we got to Mansfield, people thought we were snobs with our Essex accent. Not me, and everybody. And it was some months before they realised that in Essex that was how we spoke. The house that I was billeted in was on Berry Hill. It was Woodlands Drive, and the number was 53. I forget how many there were of us, 15 perhaps. And one by one, the column walked along there, and this lad goes in this house, and you go into that house, and so on. You see, and I was billeted with Stan Dyer there. Some people may recognise that name, but that's how we were there. But what surprised me when I first went into the house was the fact that there was a hot heat wave going on, and I was staggered to see a blazing fire in the lounge, in the grate there, you see. And I found out afterwards that they had, if they were associated with the mines, they got either a free issue or something which cost about £5 a tonne. And if they didn't use it, they didn't get their ration next time. So we had to suffer these blazing hot fires in the middle of a heat wave, which struck me as lunacy. The average wage, I understood, was about £5 a week for miners. There was a chap that lived next door who was injured years ago, and he found a job on the surface, and he only got £3 a week. The chap that I was billeted with was in charge of the powerhouse at Mansfield Main Colliery, and he told me he get £8 a week, which was a lot of money in those days. I know that the lady next door, who only got £3 a week, was constantly at the door borrowing bits of sugar and anything else she could. You got a bit of bread, I can't buy anything, and that was a eye opener to me, because we never experienced things like that at home. Stan Dyer and I, living in the same billet, behaved very badly because we wanted to leave there, you see. I'm ashamed of this, but we played the wag a bit, and we were asked to leave, and I was very fortunate to be billeted with the town's jeweller, Mr. Britton. I can't remember his first name, it might come back to me, and I lived like a king there. He was in with all the shopkeepers and got rations and things beyond, and other things which other people couldn't afford, and when we went to the cinema, he paid for it. So, and it was a lovely house on Berry Hill. I had called there since the war, but there were strangers and knew nothing about what had happened during the war. The school we went to was the Queen Elizabeth Grammar School on the Chesterfield Road. And if I remember rightly, we used to work in the morning, and the local lads had worked in the afternoon. And alternately, we had sports, you see, go and play hockey or swimming or something like that. And we settled down to that sort of life, really. I have a memory that we'd only been to the school a few days when we heard that the school had been bombed. I believe we were told that they were looking for the airport or something like that. Whether that was true, I don't know. It didn't seem to affect us because my family and most of the people I know had moved out. They'd moved out of Southend, so the town was pretty deserted very early because the threat of invasion was very real. I mean, as schoolboys, we didn't really understand the seriousness of the situation. I mean, if we'd have been a bit older, we'd have been aware that we could have been invaded and defeated, for that matter, which was unthinkable. But we just thought, oh, hard luck with what's going on in France. Well, there were about 6 cinemas in Mansfield, I think, and we used to go to cinema fairly often. I think it was about 6 or maybe 9 to go in, but that was a sort of regular treat. But otherwise, cycling around was the thing we used to do. The roads were all empty in those days, of course. You didn't have any worry with traffic or anything of that sort. And the countryside around was rather pleasant. The only friend I could remember is David Rothwell. I met him when we were down here in Southend, and he was a good friend of mine at that time, and we used to go around together, cycling and so on. And the bicycle was our only possession in this world. We cycled all around the local villages. All the little villages had their own mines and their own employees. Every little village had them. I remember the names of some of the villages: Blidworth, Rainworth, Clipston. There's 3 I can remember, but they're all very similar. Mining towns. It was a different life to living in Mansfield than it was at home, or it was a boarding school. It was quite new to me. I felt a sense of freedom, really. None of us had any money. I think I got 1 and 6 a week or something like that. And I think my father put it up to £0.50, which was because I had to buy certain things myself. But I settled down quite easily there. It was a different life and a different language in a way, with a local accent. But we did, rub along all right.